It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the movies of May 18th, 2001. We've got 3 movies to look at today, a couple of big ones, but none bigger than the first one we're going to cover here today, the movie that was one of the biggest, first real major influences for films in the 21st century. Of course, I'm talking about DreamWorks Animation's Shrek. Shrek is, of course, the story of an embittered ogre named Shrek, played by Mike Myers, who finds his home in the swamp overrun by fairy tale creatures, banished by the obsessive ruler Lord Farquaad, played by John Lithgow. With the help of a donkey voiced by Eddie Murphy, Shrek must make a pact with Farquaad to rescue Princess Fiona, played by Cameron Diaz, in exchange for gaining control of his swamp. And naturally, the two end up having a connection together, and slowly but surely, the big twist is revealed in this movie. And if you have not seen the Shrek movies at this point, then you'd probably want to step away from here, but I think everybody has seen this movie. I mean, this is a film that began production all the way back in 1991, back when Steven Spielberg had his animation studio at Universal, and he actually wanted to produce a traditionally animated feature film, but he was later convinced to take the film over to DreamWorks in '94 when Jeffrey Katzenberg started that company up. And essentially, the film came together shortly after that. I mean, it was originally going to have Chris Farley as the voice of the character. He actually did record a lot of the dialogue, but he passed away in 1997 before the film was actually completed. And it definitely would have been very interesting to see what a Farley Shrek would have been like in the long run. But like I said, he died before the film was finished, so basically Mike Myers had to come in, and of course he gave Shrek the Scottish accent, and then the rest is history from there. The film actually was intended to be created using motion capture work, but because of poor test results that came from that, they basically hired the company that did Ants to do the final computer animation. And obviously, the film parodies a lot of different fairy tales and animated Disney films, but this film really changed the game for CG animation to say that, hey, we're here and we're willing to compete with you guys, to compete with the likes of Disney, because this thing was a massive game changer in animation. It showed that Disney and Pixar weren't the only big names that could go in there, create great CG films in general. Anybody can do it if you have the right people behind it and the right purpose to it, because DreamWorks had been slowly but surely creeping in on Disney's money for a number of years, of course starting with the Ants and the Prince of Egypt, and then following that up the year before with The Road to El Dorado and Chicken Run. And this was the 5th film, and this was the film that really showed what could happen if you put if a studio like DreamWorks can come in and be a real game changer for the computer animated war that was to come later on in the years to come. And this won the first ever Oscar for Best Animated Feature Film too, so that was kind of notable as well, to beat Monsters Incorporated, a Disney film. And Jimmy Neutron, of all things, got nominated for that, which is very odd for a Paramount Nickelodeon film, but we'll get to those 2 movies later on down the road. But of course, I don't need to tell you how massive the Shrek fan base continued to grow. It was the big hit of the summer. It led to a lot of sequels, a lot of spin-offs. The spin-offs, of course. Shrek became a global phenomenon and has been well regarded as one of the most influential animated films of the 2000s, and was actually selected to the National Film Registry's preservation from the Library of Congress in 2020, becoming the first animated film of the 21st century to be preserved on that front. And it's definitely well-deserved. I mean, I don't think I need to say anything more about this particular film that hasn't already been said already, because most of you have seen this movie. And even if you haven't, you should have seen something from it by this point. Even if you didn't see this one, you should have seen at least some of the other sequels in general, or anything from Shrek. You know who this character is. I mean, it's a fun concept. It's a really fun idea. The voice work is top-notch. You've got some really great talent behind the scenes. Is the animation for the time? It works fine for what it is. It could be dated at times, but then again, computer animation was just slowly but surely beginning to become what would eventually become nowadays, where you can do a whole lot with CG animation nowadays compared to what you could do back then in 2001. But like I said, it was the movie that showed everybody that Disney was not the only kid on the block who could make great animated material. And this was at a time when Disney's second renaissance was slowly but surely coming to an end. And as we're going to find out in a couple weeks from now when we take a look at Atlantis, this film clearly went over Atlantis' box office numbers big time, and just added another missed opportunity for Disney in that front. But DreamWorks took it over from there. And like I said, man, there really is not much more I can say about this movie that hasn't already been said. It's a fun movie. It's well acted, well animated for the time. I mean, great voice work, great comedy. It's just a really, really good movie. A great soundtrack, too. I mean, it was a game changer for a number of different reasons. And, like, this is a film that really, like, it really changed the game for what we know animation to be today. Like, it was a film that really took a lot of chances, and it paid off big time. It went on to become one of the most influential movies of its time, and you can definitely see why it holds up after all these years. Like, it's still a very fun movie, and who would have guessed that they would be able to do it again the second time around? But we'll eventually get to that when we get to the second film in 2004. But yeah, not much more I could say about this one already. Shrek really is something special. I mean, I guess you could say Shrek is life. Shrek is everything. Like you know what it is. But yeah, you could tell that this movie still has a massive impact on people many, many years after it came out. I was lucky enough to see this in the theater there, and I fell in love with it right out of the get-go, man. Like, this is just a great, fun movie. I mean, this is just a really, really enjoyable film. I love it. You love it, too. It's Shrek, man. Shrek is life. So, let's take a look at some of the other movies that dared to go up against this movie. And, Jennifer Lopez had a movie that came out this weekend called Angel Eyes. Because when you see franchise pictures, you know you're going to have a quality film. Not really. But I've done that joke enough when we talk about franchise pictures in general. But here you have the story of a Chicago police officer played by Jennifer Lopez who nearly becomes the victim of a fatal ambush. A mysterious stranger, Ketch, intervenes. Ketch, being played by Jim Caviezel, disarms the assassin and saves Sharon's life. Is it a stroke of luck, a twist of fate, or just a concerned citizen who happens to pass by at the right time and wasn't afraid to get involved? Maybe, but Sharon and Ketch have met once before. As the two fall in love, they discover the truth about each other and are forced to deal with the secrets of their past. And I will say this, though. For a franchise pictures movie, and we've talked about a lot of the movies that have not been that good, this one almost comes close to being a good film. It's not, but it's really one of those movies where, I don't know, like, it just has those elements of something really special, something that's right there for the taking, and yet it just can't really get to that point to where it can really stand out on its own. I mean, Jennifer Lopez really is giving it her all in this movie. Jim Caviezel's doing a pretty good job in this as well. The pieces are definitely there. There is a good idea in general what they're trying to accomplish here, but it just can't get past that point where it can really be considered a great movie. It has that third act climax where it just really kind of ruins the ebb and flow of the movie, and it just really takes you out of it. It's just like, man, you were so close to making this work. And sadly, it just does not, and it really is a shame, too, because the first two acts show a lot of promise to it, and like I said, the acting overall is very good. At the same time, though, it just can't get past that second level to really become something special, and it kind of falls into the same trap that most franchise pictures do, is that they don't really have a good script to really work with all the way through. But yeah, it's just a film that just really, it comes this close to being something really good, and it just can't stick the landing in the end. It's a real disappointment because it is a tolerable movie. It is a film that you feel like somebody here is actually trying to make this work, and sadly, it just does not. And yeah, you expect so much more from it, but unfortunately, you don't get it at all. But I digress. So let's go ahead and take a look at our last movie, which is the limited release of Moulin Rouge. So, of course, Moulin Rouge is a jukebox musical romantic drama from Baz Luhrmann, who gave us Strictly Ballroom and Romeo and Juliet, and it follows an English poet played by Ewan McGregor, who falls in love with the star of the Moulin Rouge, a cabaret actress and courtesan played by Nicole Kidman. And the film uses the musical setting of the Montmartre quarter of Paris, and like I said, it's the final part of the Red Curtain trilogy. In addition to Kidman and McGregor, you have Jim Broadbent, Richard Roxburgh, John Leguizamo in the cast as well. I mean, this is a movie that just really, from a visuals perspective, it's incredible. It's a really stylistic and cool-looking film. It's a really fun musical, too. Like, it's a really well-made film on a number of different levels here. The script is a little bit too pretentious for its own good at times, but the chemistry between McGregor and Kidman works well enough where you can kind of let it go, and you can really find yourself having a lot of fun with the film in general here. And I think the film does have a lot of really good fun material to work with here, and it's just a very stylistic and sexy film. I mean, Nicole Kidman in this movie, my God, like, she is beautiful in this movie, man. Like, and you want to talk about sexy? Let's talk about the thing that pretty much everybody remembers from this movie. And I mean, Lady Marmalade's probably the most memorable thing that came out of this movie. I mean, the song is not only really good, mostly combining the mixes of, like, these very different artists together, like Christina Aguilera, Lil' Kim, Maya, and Pink, as well as Missy Elliott, too. Like, you know, these are very different, unique musical styles all coming together for this song, but, I mean, it's one of the sexiest music videos you'll ever see. Like, it really fits the ebb and flow of the movie itself here, and it's the one thing you remember from this movie. Even if you don't like this movie, you remember this song in particular because of maybe that music video alone, but, like, that's just one of those ones where you see it, you'll always remember it every time you hear that song, and every time someone mentions this movie, it's just like, it's one of those things where it's just like, it's such a classic song on so many levels, and it definitely just fits the ebb and flow of the movie itself here. It's a very well-made film. Baz Luhrmann, I do really like a lot of his movies in general. I mean, there's been a couple of ones where they haven't been that great. I wasn't really the biggest fan of Australia. I really like The Great Gatsby. That's one of those ones that grew on me over time. And then Elvis, which is, I still don't like that movie. Like, I know what it was trying to accomplish, but it just didn't really do it for me. I'm one of the few people that really does not like that movie in general. But this is probably his magnum opus. This is the film that really shows what he can do as a director, his visual style coming to life, and it's just such an amazing film. I love it so much. It's a great film. Can't recommend this one enough. Moulin Rouge. And so with that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. We'll jump into Memorial Day weekend for the one new release of the weekend. Not a great one, though. It's Michael Bay's Pearl Harbor. I mean, you know, he tried to make Armageddon with one of the most significant events in American history. And, just brace yourselves. It's not going to be pretty. So, Pearl Harbor, we'll take a look at that on the next episode. But until then, thank you so much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this on this channel. So with that said, I am off. I will see you guys next time, and until then, as always, take care.